Unconventional Life, welcome to the show. This is your host, Jules Schroeder, tuning in today in studio with Miss Jolie Dunn. I'm so excited to have Jolie on the show. We have known each other since our early 20s, like last 12 or 13 years. She's actually a repeat guest from 2021. We've had the pleasure to collaborate in so many different things. But Jolie, are you ready to take us down the path less traveled?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Super excited. Unconventional Lifers, Jolie is the creator of the Creatrix programs, the Dare to Prosper Challenge. I know for the last, 10, 12 plus years, you've been helping women transform their lives, their business, their relationship to prosperity. We've even had the pleasure to co-teach at different points over the years. And you're such an amplifier for women really coming into their gifts, getting generously compensated and paid for them, and doing it in a natural and intuitive, organic way. And I know through the Creatrix programs, your launch model, you've just had such tremendous success with all of that. And beyond those programs, you're in this new season going from this mother, maiden to mother kind of season and stepping into partnership, what it's like to look at the industry today and how we all get to fit our gifts within that format. So welcome to the show. Fill in any gaps that I might have left out and give us a glimpse into your world.
Thanks, Jules. I appreciate you so much. Yeah. It's amazing the ways that we've just weaved and refound each other in so many different seasons of life. And now we're living together here in Boulder, Colorado. Not together, but we both live in Boulder, Colorado. Yeah. And I was just talking with our mutual friend, Sarah, who's just been on Unconventional Life retreat with you in New Zealand.
So fun.
And I'm like, we were talking about you. I'm like, dude, there's just no one like Jules Schroeder who has been that consistent with selling out retreat after retreat after retreat and creating phenomenal experiences. And yeah, you and I worked together very intimately. You were the first person that brought me to Boulder.
Yeah.
Very intimately in late 2020 and into 2021. And we had some tremendous success. And I want to thank you for being that person that saw where my business could go. And you were a huge catalyst. There was like my business pre-Jules and my business after Jules was a completely different playing field. And I'm still riding that wave. So thank you for all that you've contributed and all that you do for people.
Yeah, thank you, love. And we had so much fun on Unconventional Lifers. We're actually celebrating our 10th year anniversary in June in Albania on the Albanian Riviera. Think like turquoise blue water, pebble sand beaches, wild horses. It's crazy. Like it actually came to me like in a breath work in New Zealand and I saw these images, these horses, and I went to ChatGPT for the first time and I described the feeling and I was like, it's feminine power and it looks like this. And for an hour, I was like swiping photos like at the end of one of the days trying to go to bed. And I landed on this picture and I was like, Albania. I was like, okay, that's where we're going. And so, yeah, we've got like 30 people already signed up. We like haven't even like gone public. People are like in. So if you're looking for a fun adventure, unconventionallifeshow.com/Albania, we will link that. And hopefully we'll get you to one of these amazing events. But I think, within all of that, it's just the context of collaboration and how people are pieces to the puzzle in your life. And, even to the same accord, when you and I met, it was our early seasons, we were coming up in the industry together and trying to make sense of the internet and so much bro marketing. It was like, point out the pain and talk about this. And it's like
agitate
and like crappy colors. And we're like, none of this feels like,
oh my gosh, that's true.
Right. And then to go from that, which I do want to go back to in just a minute. And, for me, I went through one of the darkest nights of the soul with autoimmune in 2020 and mental health that diagnosed, and brain chemistry that tanked from the autoimmune, and just really even sat with these questions of like, do I still have more in me? And for our friendship to meet there and me being like, well, I'm kind of bored just at home, but I'm not really fully ready to like go back in the world yet. And you're like, what if we collaborate, And that led to me getting to really support, you and tag team. And so I think you're just an amplifier for everyone as well. So thank you for pulling me out of my dark night of the soul and us both launching into this next season. And, if our listeners were a fly on the wall, before we get into some of the juiciness of this, in seeing some of the scenes of your life, I know it's really taken something for you to become who you've been. It wasn't just a default or a given. And I would love for you just to share some of the snapshots that our listeners, would see if they saw you in those scenes.
Thank you for the way you see me, Jules. The life that I've created was not the predictable path for my life. I would have had every excuse to go down the path of addiction or to spend the entirety of my life second guessing myself. Low self-image, low self-esteem. I grew up around a lot of addiction in my home. My father fought in the Vietnam War and had his own battles from that. Both of my parents were so loving, so committed to being parents, and also had extraordinary amounts of trauma. And so I grew up with a very limited self-image, very low self-efficacy, very much a feeling of being scared of life. And the path that I chose, I was so blessed that in my early 20s, I found a spiritual path. And I was shown in one of my transcendental meditations, the power of my own soul. And I could see the light of my soul. I could see what was possible on my soul in this life. And then I could see all the human drama. I could see all the ways I was judging myself and scared of the world and scared of my own voice. I was a very shy, inward person, very shy in school, didn't excel really much in anything, like not very good grades or anything, just was kind of like middle of the road average American girl. And because of my spiritual path in my 20s, and I was shown the fork in the road, the spirit came to me. And I believe this is, a unique part of my incarnation, but we all get this choice of, here are these infinite possibilities of your life, all of these doors that you can open. Which one are you going to open? I started to be really curious about what door opens prosperity. How can I free myself from what was so much struggle with money in my lifetime? 2008 hit my family really hard. 2 years later, my dad made the very permanent choice to take his life. That was shattering for a young girl at 20 years old to try to make sense of her reality. My mom was not healthy at that time. I played a caretaking role for her for the next 9 years until she passed when I was 29. And I didn't have the best life circumstances. But I look back now, and every single one of those moments where I felt like, oh, this would crush my spirit. Nobody knows what this feels like, is what developed my character. And I went on in my career to ask big questions of, how can I be of service at this time? How can I give? What are my skills? What are my gifts? This is about the time that you and I met in our early 20s. You and I both were asking these questions of like, oh, all right, this whole thing called internet marketing, this whole thing called, you just ideate a program that you're going to create or a reason to bring people together, and then you rally these people together and they pay you, and then that's your career? That wasn't heard of before like 2010. Tony Robbins was kind of siloed over here. Maybe Wayne Dyer was doing a thing, or the Chopra Center was doing a thing. But you and I met in our early 20s at Awesomeness Fest. And I looked around that room and I was like, oh my God, I'll be damned. These people are making up their careers and they're thriving and they're happy and they're on purpose. I'm like, I'm going to do that. I went on to build Prosperity Queendom Inc. And we've served over 25,000 women in our programs. You came on and helped me scale at such a pivotal time. And I've made millions of dollars and I've been able to set myself up. And that was a life-changing reality that simply wasn't going to be the predictable path.
Yeah, so extraordinary. And Unconventional Lifers, I really want you to get, especially in your story, there are these inflection points where I like to also call them these zones of turbulence moments, where we either expand and we breathe and we say, yes, I can, and can be totally terrified, feeling like overwhelmed, and still do it anyways. Or we collapse. There's no right or wrong. I think life keeps giving us these promptings for these choices. And again, you seem to rise and reinvent. And I think it's just truly remarkable. And I think, for our listeners now, right, we've seen this decade of creating. And I remember feeling like the wild, wild west, like it's just like anything on the internet. And here we are now. There's AI, there's this. And we're moving from what's been, we watched this influencer economy and all about the numbers and the shininess and this, et cetera, to now this loyalty. And you said it, this intimacy, this vulnerability. And what are some of the things that you're seeing present tense, especially for our listeners that are maybe entering or have been in this for a while and are feeling the fatigue at this deep level?
Oh my gosh, such a good setup for a question. Yeah, Jules, you and I were a part of the very beginnings of this industry. And now in hindsight, I realized that. In the moment, I didn't know what was happening.
It's just the water we were swimming in.
Yeah. We're going to ride this current that is the current. And we saw this huge peak in COVID where people had one option for connection was to be on Zoom. And it's like, what time are we in right now in the industry? you and I had a golden era. And for people who are getting started right now, this is your golden era.
Yeah.
The times are different. People are more discerning. And I think the thing that is being asked of people, whether you have a current business that's been running for a decade or you're just getting started, the hack, the number one thing people need to know about what's going to be successful in our time is building community and having a place where people can plug in and be seen and create the environment of intimacy, which is so what you're doing, Jules, with Unconventional Life. I've had so many conversations with people that come off of Unconventional Life and be like, yo, life changed forever. You facilitated a crew for us down in right after our $500,000 launch in 2021 in Mexico. And yeah, you have that gift, and it's no longer just sort of like an extra thing about an online business or a coaching business or a healing business. Like, oh yeah, I might build a community. This is the difference between having a successful business or not.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. And our Mexico times were so fun. Oh my goodness. Like literally
the resort.
I know. We like lived at these high end, like multi-thousand square foot 4-bedroom penthouse. Like people were paying like 15 grand, like a night or a week, whatever. It was insane. And we're just living there for weeks on end.
Because COVID and this crazy pricing for COVID.
It was amazing. And like creating from that. And I think, when we look at that, I know one of the models that you've really manufactured, especially with community, is doing that virtually. And I know here we are, and your partner for the very first time, present tense, is doing his first launch, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and your health transition and all of that. And so the model works, and I've seen it work not only for you, for me, through so many of watching your students. I'd love for you to share a little bit about, one, what the Creatrix model is and what it looks like. And here you are after 7 years now adjusting and pivoting. So there is also a present tense of it, and just to paint how you've done this community building in your way.
Yeah. 2013 is when I launched my business with the first ever women's group in San Diego. I did not know how to put offers together. I did not know how to monetize. I just wanted to see if I could get women in a room. That went on to take multiple different forms. Through 2016 was my first women's business building community. It was big success. I was teaching sales. I had worked in professional sales since I was 16. I'd done a lot of consulting. And we were seeing, what I was seeing was bringing women together who were working on the same thing and the same strategy was creating miraculous results.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, I wanted to solve for lead generation feeling easier. So I launched the Dare to Prosper Challenge. I've run that 7 times through. 25,000 women have gone through that challenge. And that was the birth of the Creatrix launch model, which is how to host really compelling online events and have a very strategic funnel on the back end of offerings and how to convert those and how to fill your community. And that's been the thing that has been most successful for me, is how can I bring people together for a shared intention and a shared heart and a shared mission. And I always include live component in my programs and my Creatrix Academy. There's always some sort of thing that's live because it makes a difference and people want to be off of Zoom and in person.
Absolutely. And Unconventional Lifers, we have a great giveaway we're going to talk about a little bit later. So make sure to stay tuned for that if you're really interested in this type of method and model. And, I know within Dare to Prosper, not only do you bring, your business gifts, but you also incorporate meditation and energy healing and these other components. And what has it been like for you to include those things in your work? So I think sometimes, and even for myself with my music and artistry and other things, it's easy to compartmentalize and to say, this is for that, this is for that. And you're like, and I always like to say people have a lot of hobbies and it's like business is business when it makes money. And you're like, let's just bring it all together and that makes the best business. And it's not that easy, but kind of is. So I'd love for you to share about your decisions and journey to do that. And especially for our listeners who have those same desires.
Yeah. Okay. So in starting my business, what I think of it and refer to it as reality creation. It was a very intentional use of my soul will to create something, pluck it from the ether, that which didn't already exist. You know this very well. Master Creatrix, master manifester. I understood this art. I understood what was being asked of me in this life. From that place, that I would know myself as soul, I would know my gifts from the inside, I would move from that confidence, then I'm going to create. I don't know how to create a business any other way. I don't. I really don't. I wouldn't know the first place to start, which is why I teach from frequency first, coming from the heart first, coming from the soul expression. Because if you don't know yourself and your gifts and that confidence is wobbly, you're going to see that reflected in every sales call and every course you offer. People are going to be wobbly towards you because you're wobbly towards you. So I teach from a frequency first perspective because to me, that is the essence of creation. That is what is being asked of us at this time. If somebody asked me like, Jolie, there's so much going on in the world. We're so disappointed with leadership. Like, oh my gosh, could I start a business in this economy? And to that, what I would say, you have unique challenges of this time. Like we had unique challenges of our time, but now is the time. There is no other time like the present. And for people who are feeling the call of like, ooh, this has been itching on my soul and I want to do this and it's coming for me, putting that off or ignoring that feeling is not going to, it's not going to settle it. What you resist persists. And so to that, I would say now more than ever, it would be so easy to have every excuse of why they couldn't start. And yeah, the time that we're in is asking for strong leadership, is asking for people who have an uncommon consciousness of love to lead the way and carry that torch of light.
Yeah, well said. Frequency first. You heard that. I love when you teach about that. And we'll also link some of Jolie's stuff. You have so many trainings and teachings at unconventionallifeshow.com. So make sure to check her out there. And within that, I think there's a certain degree of visibility and being seen and being visible. And, even present tense, you're in this extraordinary relationship and he is literally coming in, leaving corporate. I'm going to paraphrase. You obviously know a story better than me, but leaving, the job and this big successful career he had to really lead with his gifts. And there's a barrier, seemingly a barrier to visibility and your voice. And there's also all this stuff in the world right now, we don't need to go into all of it, that can make, anybody, including myself, feel like it doesn't matter. What's the point? Soul fatigue of just exhaustion. Like it's not the most easy time to be alive. And if you put your attention on that, you miss the light, which always trumps the dark. Light will always reign. Your light will 1000% light up whatever domain it is to light up. And without that attention there, and, you're such a little, I call it pushy angel, right? To be like, go, the light's going to win. Like, you got it. Like, it's so easy to forget. And then our souls feel what can feel like a heartbreak almost, like just a soul break of just this knowing that there's this well in you. And even I even watch people who've been doing this for a long time in their own, and I have been in my own at different points, even if you've seen success, to also kind of go, well, what's true now? And what does visibility look like today? And can I have the courage, the vulnerability, the trust, the intimacy to show up for it? And this is a multi-part question. I'd love for you just to kind of, speak to that in your own way. And then also how you're seeing this with your connection with your partner.
Oh my gosh, Jules. It's such a crazy time because getting to back up and witness the coming together of me and Michael and the gifts that I was meant to bring to him and the gifts he was meant to bring to me is so next level. We were in the same community 10 years ago and we're just like ships passing in the night, never met, had the same mutual best friends. And here we are 10 years later to come together. And it's so clear why I'm in his life and why he's in mine. But he really trusts me as a business owner, and he's really allowed me to walk him through what I do for my clients, which is a launch process. So today, this man had his first ever masterclass called Reclamation, and he's a bodybuilder. He has an incredible physique. He has in the 99th percentile of testosterone, all naturally. People accuse him all the time of being on hormones at the gym. They're like, what are you taking, bro? Testosterone. And it's just, he has an uncommon relationship with his body in this time. And he's done it through lifestyle and herbalism and just a totally committed path of devotion. So yeah, we're working him through the Creatrix launch model, which is how do we rally people together and you have to have value and something that is embodied and true, because if someone can get better wisdom on ChatGPT, they're going to. And the reality of the situation is AI creates tremendous value and valuable answers to people's problems. Like, what cleanse should I do? And how do I start a business? And how do I do market research? Back in the day when we started our businesses, you couldn't Google this stuff in that way.
No, certainly wasn't getting breathwork downloads and asking ChatGPT to find me where in the world they existed.
No way. Yeah, we all have personal assistants now. It's crazy to watch it. And so the ask of our time is to be better than AI. And you have to know that. You can't just guess that you're better than AI. embodiment in something that is true for you, which Michael has in spades. And so we had 600 participants on our masterclass today, and it was amazing.
So amazing.
And then he has some cleanse programs, which I've been a part of, which has like radically changed my life. You've seen me on such a body journey. My body's had so many shapes.
Completely. And I want to get into that in a second. And Unconventional Lifers, we are going to link the masterclass. You'll be able to catch the replay for it up at the show notes at unconventionallifeshow.com. Check it out. Because I remember even the first time, I think we were getting an IV in Austin when you were just like starting to connect with him. And you're like, there's this guy. And like you showed me his pictures and I was like, okay, Jolie, like, which wasn't your usual type. And he was very shredded. And like, and that's not even my usual type, but you could tell. And then we went over for dinner and I'm very early on in the relationship at his house and he was very committed to health. And it was like, whoa, this is a real thing, you know? And
it's a real deal thing.
So talk about congruency, everyone. There's like real deal of congruency there. But to, you know, watch all of that and to be better than AI, and I want to slow that down, and I do want to get into the health journey stuff too, because I think it matters to this overall vibrancy. But I think a lot of times the second guessing and even the belief component, and you are such, I feel like when you are convicted in your belief, you are such a stand not only for yourself, but for your clients and people. Like when people come into your world, there's no way to not believe. Like you hold such a pull that even if they waver, even if you waver, you're like, it's so matter of fact, you know? And that doesn't mean you're not human. It doesn't mean you don't doubt. It doesn't mean any of those things. But there is this real relationship, communing with. And I would love for you to speak to that practice of how you commune with, and maybe as an offering for our listeners who maybe had or have lost or are shaky with their own version of how to find that within themselves right now.
I'm going to shoot it straight. It may resonate with people, it may not, but I'm from an era of boss babe above everything. I'm from an era of women where I was taught from a young age that I am above being in the kitchen. That is a task that is below me. I'm going to outsource that. I will hire a chef when I have enough money. I'll have my groceries delivered on my front step from Whole Foods, and anything that I can outsource, that is the way. This season of my life, the biggest reclamation from me is being in the kitchen. Being in the kitchen, taking on the feminine space of nourishment. And that has healed a part of me, Jules. It's so deep. I make sourdough bread. I know it's so stereotypical.
And a million other delicious looking treats you can follow her on Instagram with.
I've been baking treats, y'all. Sweet potato pies. I work with a lot of teff flour, which is exceptionally hard to bake with. It's a high protein flour from Ethiopia. It's naturally gluten-free and it has a ton of micronutrients. It's also exceptionally hard to bake with. I make sweet potato bread and banana bread and chocolate chip bread and all kinds of things. And the delight in my body to create these things and to tend to myself in the kitchen, to reclaim these parts of myself, it just wasn't what I was taught. And, you know, it's interesting because I wasn't oriented to what are all the ways that my feminine being wants to be filled up? Like what are these expressions? For me, it was I'm creating a career path because I don't have a backup plan. I don't have parents that set me up. I don't have a rich husband. I almost did. Almost did in my early 20s. Had a little diversion of that story. And and I think this time of my life, I'm reclaiming the part of me that is just like falling in love with artistry and walking the beauty way. And yes, that shows up in the kitchen. And yes, that shows up in my friendships. And this past Christmas, I delighted in crafty Christmas. I made every ornament on my Christmas tree. I did. I made about 300 teff flour gingerbread cookies. And it's doing something for me that I can't even name, but it is like fueling a part of my soul that I didn't even know that I needed. And I'm grateful that my business is at a place now that sustains me at around, like $500,000 a year, 12 hours a week. So I do have all this time. And being in the preparation for motherhood, which is like no small feat for an identity shift and a mindset shift.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, talk about coming from boss babe paradigm, which it's so interesting. Like I find me, like so many of my girlfriends of like the ways that we wanted to like be the best, be the man, be the charge, blah, blah. Like none of that systemically, A, feels good, B, feels natural, and C, creates longevity.
Totally.
And like I look at where I peaked out in autoimmune and why that happened. I also think this might sound controversial, but anxiety, depression, mental health, these things are, for me, it was symptoms of not running my energy in a way that was true to my mapping. And when I learned how to more reliably run my energy in a way that was true to my mapping, ironically, brain chemistry regulated, like mental health, all these components, not in my reality anymore.
Huge.
And I think that's what you're speaking to. And I think Unconventional Lifers, it's a really big opportunity here because, you know, we really, to your point, like had to come out and be on top and pioneer a new model as millennials. And then the only model was male. So we calibrated to the men to do that.
Yeah.
And then we forgot we were still women.
Right.
And then we remembered we're women and then integrated these components into it. And now there's this still effortlessness that's coming in. And I also know that is reflecting your physical body. Yeah. And girl, I remember I still get memories on my phone, you know, of our trips, but like Cabo, pink-haired Jolie, you know, definitely as you describe it, like carrying extra weight, that like
fluffy, inflamed. And so more than that, so upset about it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the emotional state? I was like, I don't recognize this body.
Totally. And like talk about confronting areas, being in bathing suits and like warm weather and just like what that was like. And, you know, and I knew you as like little, you know, tiny blonde haired baby Jolie, and then your, you know, evolution post breakup, and then to go vice versa, have shed all the weight, but not even the weight. It's the inflammation. It's the excess. It's the what all of that represented. And I'd love for you to speak to that journey, because I think even for people, especially as we age, sometimes it's easy to relate to things that are fixed. And I was talking to my friend who's like 40 yesterday, and he's like, oh, my knee and my energy and daylight. And I'm like, dude, you're 40 years old. Like, get your shit together. Yeah. The end is not among you. Like, I promise, you know? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. There's no judgment there. But again, when we get in these ruts of this is how it is, we believe a truth as the truth, and we forget our capacity. And you are, I think, such a testament to that reinvention. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that process.
Gosh, dear, you and I both major reclamation of our health. Well, I lost the plot in my late 20s. I was really emotionally distraught about my mother's death. I mean, losing mom, even if you're not close to mom, it cannot be underestimated, the enormity of the emotions that come through the body. I mean, it's a huge deal. At any age, it's a huge deal. And I had created such an identity as being the optimistic one and the happy one. I'm the girl, her life goes really well. And that's true for me. That is a natural way of being. I am naturally optimistic. I do see the glass half full. But in that season of my life, there was such an identity confrontation because I wasn't happy. I was fucking distraught. Yeah. I was so sad to lose my mom, and especially how it went at the end for her. It was just like, ooh, there was so much for me to process, but I did the thing that I knew how to do, which was like, get back to work, put a happy face on, get back to it. I didn't address the emotions of grief and my way of coping. If it had been in my earlier years, I would have drank a lot because that was my escape. I wasn't drinking a lot. I wasn't doing extracurricular things. And so food, I got really hungry. Yeah. I was always hungry. I was a snacky girl. And then a partner came into my life that introduced me to junk food veganism. Still kind of resentful about that, honestly.
Healthy junk food
veganism. Oh my gosh, we ate Beyond Burgers and we ate soy products and we ate tofu. That's the same thing. Yeah. And just all those things like really inflamed my body. And after that breakup, it was like right when we went to Cabo together, I was like, what happened? Yeah. 45 pounds of inflammation on my little frame. I've just got this little tiny frame. Yeah. And you were so loving. And you're like, you can do this. You wake up and you flush, you get back on it. And that really set me, like that breakup set me into the path of getting the plot back. I think in our day, we hear a lot of blame on like perimenopause and like all these things that are wrong with me and all these conditions and diagnoses. And if we could just, those things may or may not be true. If we could just listen, what is my body asking of me? My body is asking less. You were one of the people that introduced me to non-toxic living. Yeah. You were the first person that was telling me about mold. I was like, what, is that a thing? You were the first person to tell me about fragrances. You were the first person that like really had this ultra clean lifestyle because you were like a canary. Yeah. Your body would tell you if something was off or if the fish
better or worse.
Yeah, totally. And I wasn't connected to any of those symptoms. I was like, I don't know, it's all just off. Yeah. For better, for worse. You would tell us if the fish tacos were off. I was like, I didn't notice. Maybe I will in a couple days, but I don't know. So anyways, yeah, it's a huge reclamation of myself to actually go to those deeper feelings. And I did. Lo and behold, they were there. frozen in time for me to deal with. And as I lost the weight, I got to be with the emotion and the sadness. And then I did pop out on the other side and got to live the life that I actually wanted, which was free of those things.
Yeah. Well, and Unconventional Lifers, if you're catching us on camera, just honoring the gorgeous you in all forms and really the inner vibrancy that is the real reflection of the outer beauty. And we're just about to jump into our rapid fire round. Then we're going to talk about the giveaway, a series of lightning questions coming at you. But before we do, I just want to talk about this journey really going from maiden into mother, and particularly the work you've been doing in this preconception and especially as women in our, we're like, 36 now, about to be 37 this year. Yep. It's like there's some, ritual and attention. And I think one side of it, could be like, oh my God, I'm beyond my window and blah, 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 and like not subscribing to any of those. And I know for you as well. And then there's also, what you can do to just keep yourself with any area of your life in peak performance. Yep. And I'd love for you to speak to what you're doing, what you're learning in this process, and just for any of our ladies that are in this season, any nuggets you got.
Okay, here I go, rapid fire. Yeah. You and I, Jules, know how to create things when we want things to happen. If there's a launch, we execute it. With making babies, it's different. Yeah. You've got his timeline, you've got the baby's timeline, you've got preparedness. And so what I recognize is like, okay, I'm in this moment of time where I am in preconception era. When the babies are come, hopefully sooner than later, my partner's setting up a bunch of things to make that happen for us. But I can max this out. So what am I doing in this time? I'm reducing inflammation with diet. I am cooking 99% of my meals at home. I reduce toxins in every imaginable way, hair care, makeup, all the environment in the home. The only cleaners in our home are vinegar and baking soda. So environmental toxin in that way. I got rid of all of my polyester. There is not a stitch of plastic clothing in my closet. Wow. That was a huge overhaul.
If you really knew Jolie, you would know.
Oh, I was like Lululemon polyester babe.
Yeah, and your very blonde extensions and just all of it.
Stop bleaching my hair, all natural makeup, gym every day. This is a bamboo dress. I was wearing Lululemon underwear, polyester underwear for probably 15 years. Yeah. So Packed, shout out to Packed. My favorite synthetic fitting pants that are non-synthetic are Pura Kai. And I just went through every single item that I was using and reduced microplastics and drank spring water and nothing in cans, nothing in plastic.
Yeah, so good. Any favorite dietary stuff for inflammation in the preconception stuff?
This one. This is a secret that got out not so long ago. Celery juice every morning. What in the world is that magic healer?
I know. I still do it every day. It's one thing when I travel that I miss the most. Like every morning on an empty stomach, and then I have like caffeine or something like an hour or two later.
Exactly. If you can delay caffeine, you're gonna do huge things for your adrenals. I don't know what the heck it is with celery juice. Well, I do know it's an herb. It has so many of the minerals and salts that the body needs. It gets into the digestive tract and gives you a nice squeeze in the morning. You will purge anything from the day before. It's a magic healer, not to be slept on, folks. Get yourself a juicer, get yourself celery. It is a devotion of me to keep celery in the house. Yeah. I feel like I'm constantly going on celery runs, but totally, it's a life changer.
Yeah, so good. And Unconventional Lifers, even for some of you that are like, I can't do this, I'm too lazy. That now, like when you and I were like living together back 2021, I first started, like I was so sick, like I could barely get to the kitchen and I'm still juicing it. And now there are all these, not saying that they're as good as juicing at home, but Element makes a celery juice and lemon. Suja makes a celery juice and lemon. So there are still hacks to at least get you started. Right. And of course, doing it yourself is definitely the best way, but don't let yourself out of the game. So, all right, we're going to jump into the rapid fire round and then we're going to talk about the giveaway. Lightning questions coming at you. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Question number 1, fill in the blank speaking about yourself. If you really knew me, you would know what?
Oh. If you really knew me, you would know how important it is for me to be a good friend. Friends are what make my life go round. I love devoting to friendships. I love keeping friends for a long time. And friendship is a high priority and value in my life.
Yeah, beautiful. And I've seen it myself. Next question. What is one practice, present tense, that you're doing regularly that you feel is setting you up for success?
Girl, you wouldn't believe it. I'm in the gym every single day. I have my gym bag packed for after this. Lifting weights, heavy resistance, squats, hip thrusts, rowing. Lifting heavy weights has changed my life.
Yeah, so good. I know I just did a sumo deadlift. I was talking before. I was like trying to curl the hair rapidly. We can always get it in. So
get it in.
Yeah. Next question. What is one thing in your life that, when you think about, what people come to you for and what they ask you about, that there's a truth that I feel like if people could just hear this, I want them to know what.
I would want people to know that there's so much possibility on their life, that they can create anything that they conceive. And that really is the point of life. As far as I know, the intention of being here is to grow as a soul. And you do that through challenge. So doing things that get you uncomfortable, create things from scratch, do things that scare the shit out of you, and watch yourself soar because you did the thing.
Yeah, well said. Lastly, when you think about living the unconventional life, what does that mean to you?
Gosh, many things. This man that I'm dating is exceptionally unconventional. My business, the way that I've made money, the way that I've sustained money, the way that I treat my body, the way that I do friendship, as I mentioned. But I would say the essence of unconventional to me is being aware of the matrix, being aware, I'm going to just say the nefarious force of our time.
Yeah.
And being willing to see it, see the play. There's a lot of stuff coming out right now. I'm just like, whoa, holy leadership. What have we been up to? To see the whole play and then to create the bubble of my beauty in my life.
Yeah, well said. I actually just read an article that Pink, the music artist, was just being interviewed for this big launch. And she, it was like Vanity Fair or something. And she turned into the camera and she's like, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's like, we need a leader that prioritizes people over power. And it has been causing all this controversy. And she didn't say anything about who and what. And if you're American, you can probably fill in the blanks, but talk about really using the voice and really looking at what matters. And just reminds me of what you're saying. So Jolie, Dawn, everyone. Jolie, let's talk about the giveaway we got from one of our listeners.
Oh my gosh. Jules, in preparation for motherhood and kind of projecting what postpartum will be, I'm taking my life's work, everything that I've created, Creatrix Calling, how to develop a core offer, Creatrix Academy, how to launch that offer. Every bonus I've done, every meditation I've done is going to be put into a monthly membership. And it's a year commitment. And this membership is $111 a month. My life's work of everything I've ever created, $111 a month, because it's built for a big community, because that's where I have joy in building a big community. So we are giving away a 1-year tuition to this membership, the Creatrix Collective.
So cool. What a generous offer. Unconventional Lifers, as I said, I have gotten to be a recipient of your work. We've gotten to collaborate on your work. Her work really works. And for those of you who are super excited about this, head over to unconventionallifeshow.com. Click on the giveaway tab. As a reminder, giveaways are open 1 week after the episode airs. So make sure to catch us live every single Monday to not miss one of these giveaways. And Jolie, I'm sure our listeners will also want to know how they can also learn more about the program, follow along with you, stay in touch. What's the best place for people to do all that?
I hang out on Instagram, and you can see all of my current offerings in my bio. It's Jolie Dawn XO, and I do lots of stories and show you inside my life and show you the things I'm cooking, and I post recipes and launch strategy and all the things that I do is happening on Instagram.
So good. We will link that Instagram link at the show notes, unconventionallifeshow.com. Jolie, thanks for being a guest for this episode and honoring us as we take this new transition to in-person, and just it's so amazing to weave with you in life and watch you as a stand for who you are for yourself and for the world. So
thanks, Jules.
Thanks so much.
There's no one in the world like you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.